So, thank you very much for having us. We're Chris and Dolf from Bit4Coin, and we're talking about innovation and core technologies in the Bitcoin space in general. Maybe very briefly about our blockchain space in general. Maybe very briefly about ourselves. So, Chris is CFO and co-founder of Bit4Coin. I'm previously manager at PwC for 8 years. Myself, 5 years in the Bitcoin blockchain space now, which feels like sometimes I'm a dinosaur in this environment already. Before that, with the Boston Consulting Group for 5 years. So very briefly about Bit4Coin, what do we do? So we're one of the spaces where customers can buy digital currency in general. So we're a broker, like many others in Europe, where you can buy a cryptocurrency voucher that you can then turn into any kind of cryptocurrency. So basically just buying and selling crypto. We also have a gift card product. So if somebody wants to buy a gift card and give cryptocurrency to their friend for Christmas or any other occasion, then this is like one of these services that we also offer. So we have euro-stable, euro-denominated vouchers. You can buy that voucher with euros. You get the voucher, you pass it on to somebody you want to give it to, and they can then redeem it at any given point in time. And the exchange rate for the cryptocurrency is then fixed upon redemption. So we basically have a stable coin already for 5 years, only that it's not a coin, it's just a voucher. This service is also used for B2B, so we have cryptocurrency solutions for businesses which use the same system for payouts in general. So if any business, any platform, any company wants to pay out in crypto, but they don't want to store crypto, they don't want to handle it, they don't want to account for it, they're risks, like sort of aware of all of the risks and the volatility, they can use our solution, buy a stable voucher in essence, and then use it to pay out contractors, suppliers, employees, rewards, anything, and then the final recipient can then choose to redeem those vouchers into the cryptocurrency of choice whenever they feel this is the best time to do so. So enough about us. So we're talking about innovation and core technologies. So we have, coming a little bit more from the corporate and financial world, I find it striking that over the past 5 years, within the cryptocurrency space, we have starting to resemble what is happening in the financial services space in general. And you can think about that you almost have everything that the traditional financial system has. You have now replicated and built upon an entirely new platform, which is quite exciting if you think about it. So for example, money you could equate to the central banks if you wanted to. The currencies itself probably resemble the currencies. Then you have the entire token ecosystem on top of the blockchains itself, which is sort of securities like stocks and bonds that are issued by companies. You then have in the crypto space, the exchanges. You have the storage, sometimes done by exchanges, sometimes wallet providers who are independent or just software. You have lending and payments. And a lot of this on the traditional financial services side is then, you have a little bit of a separation. You have the exchanges, like the stock exchanges that only do the market making and have limited access to banks, basically. So you cannot open an account at the NYSE directly. You would need to go through a broker, through a bank. And then the banks capturing a lot of value in the traditional financial system, offering access to exchanges, storage of funds, and then also like lending services and then payments. And then you would have payment institutions as well. And the funny thing is that you have, in addition to all of these core services in the financial world, you have information and data providers covering all aspects of the traditional world, and you see the same now in the crypto world. You have like all kinds of information sites covering all of the details that happen on the crypto side, from coin market cap to all of the other services, about prices, about mining reward statistics, news sites about all topics. So it's interesting that you have these two systems separately, but sort of starting to resemble each other. And I think what we want to show in this talk today is that while the blockchain ecosystem is moving more towards the traditional financial system and trying to sort of capture some market share, you also have the traditional financial system moving more and more closer to the blockchain ecosystem. So we want to, since we have limited amount of time, just to highlight 5 short topics for innovation or specific innovations that happen, and turn over to Chris now for the first ones.
Yeah, indeed. And one of the situations you can see financial institutions actually moving into cryptocurrency is exchanges. Exchanges, a couple of days ago, we had the big news that the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange is actually going to launch in November, expected, a cryptocurrency exchange called Backed. Backed is a sort of play of words of asset-backed securities, in the sense that institutions will be able to buy and sell cryptocurrency without actually holding and storing the crypto, because that will be held by a custody party called Backed. This isn't new. The Deutsche Börse actually announced this in May already, and it went relatively unannounced, and there wasn't much media attention. But they've also got it on their roadmap for 2020, and are launching also a blockchain-based settlement of securities. Now, exchanges is one thing, but more interesting is probably the banks. So everyone's talking about, is Goldman in, is Goldman out? So yesterday, Dolf and I were in Barcelona at the Trade Tech Forex event, and the Goldman Sachs's head of the digital assets team was there to present their plans, and they are definitely still in. So he confirmed they're taking a sort of crawl, walk, run approach, in the sense that they do want to invest. They cannot hold or touch crypto. So it's very frustrating to Goldman, in the sense that everything has to be on a derivatives basis. They cannot actually touch it from a regulatory perspective. They want to be a market maker, on the one hand, offering bid-ask spreads, and they want to offer their clients to be long crypto, obviously on a derivatives futures basis. So Goldman did this. Citi is busy with a securities product which is very similar to the American depository receipt. Again, not new. Vontobel on the Swiss Stock Exchange did this in 2016 already. Volumes are low, but obviously Goldman and Citi in the space will be huge. So I think that's financial institutions going into crypto. But the interesting thing is crypto is mimicking what financial institutions are doing, like Dolf said. So there's peer-to-peer lending platforms in Germany, Bitbond, who do investors lending small companies up to 25,000 euros. But to allow that to be cross-border and all over the world, and to allow Bitbond to be operational globally, this is settled in Bitcoin. Another great example, this is actually a product we launched in 2017, so obviously as a disclaimer, but we feel this is really something to, where sort of crypto moves into financial institutions, is cable. And this is traditional money transfers, B2B, where if you do that through correspondent banking, that would take 4 or 5 days, paying your supplier in China, paying to Australia or Brazil. SMEs are paying 3 to 7% foreign exchange spreads. Settling that through crypto can be done, in China's case, in less than 10 minutes. So you basically connect domestic banking infrastructures and settle them through the blockchain-based settlement system, rather than going through Deutsche Bank's Autobahn in London and New York and converting into US dollar and GBP, and then only settling in Chinese yuan. So basically making payments as easy as sending an email. I think to round that off, I'll give it back to Dolf. One of the last innovation we'd like to focus on.
Yeah, and that is something that we've just finished this week, actually. So we, at the Paris FinTech Forum this year, we ran into a sentiment company that was very heavily involved in sentiment analysis, and mainly doing it for traditional investments and financial services. And so we asked them, have you thought about doing something for crypto? And they hadn't at the time. So now, roughly 6 months later, we're proud to launch what we call the CC6, a cryptocurrency sentiment index, where we use their proprietary technology to do sentiment analysis, but apply it to 6 major cryptocurrencies and construct an index out of it, and then showing how, I think it's over 200,000 data points each day, from Reddit, from Facebook, from Telegram groups, I think in some cases, but then also mainly from Twitter, and analyzing the sentiment and really understanding what is the current chatter about the different currencies, according to 8 proprietary categories, and then constructing a sentiment index out of this and comparing it to the price and see, okay, well, relatively, how is the situation of the price compared to what's happening in social media? So quite interesting project, and we're happy to announce it today. So just to sum up the key trends around innovation in the blockchain space that we see from our humble opinion, being in the space for 5 years. So we really see that the blockchain ecosystem more and more resembles the traditional financial system, and that many of the products are being built or have been built already that sort of serves the same purpose. We also see that the traditional financial system, I mean, they're bound by regulation and they're like built on old technology, but they really do not underestimate this space anymore, and they're all trying to at least think about it, get into the space, sometimes more private permissioned blockchains, sometimes really adopting cryptocurrencies and trying to get their feet wet and really understand what's going on. So it's, I always say, like, if like 3-4 years ago, somebody would have said in a Bitcoin conference that the Goldman Sachs is opening a trading desk, they would have been so happy, and nowadays this is just happening. You know, the time has really moved on. We also believe that if a financial company in a few years' time is not able to handle crypto and work with crypto or blockchain technology in general, they probably will be seen like a business today that doesn't have a website. So this is really, if you think about like settlement times globally, transfers, handling data securely, it will be one of the key skills that the financial institution will need to master at some point. And we also will see, and I think this is something that is quite normal with any new technology, that the regulatory challenges will further identify. So for anybody who has a project in this space, that is something to really figure out, you know, first, because, and everybody keeps saying it, but we are in very close contact with our Dutch regulator, and discussing all of the things that we're doing with them beforehand, so just to make sure to be compliant. And that is, I think, is one of the core skills that at least the blockchain project needs to master in order to stay compliant and, yeah, make sure that they will have, also going forward, then are in a position that they can reap the benefits of their project and not sort of end on the wrong side. So thank you very much for your time and attention. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them.